Hi everyone, in today's video we're talking Chanel price increases. If you haven't heard already, Chanel announced another round of price increases as of today officially, that's March 2nd, 2023. As a matter of fact, I went on to the Chanel website here in the US last night and I noticed that they had already listed their new prices. So these are confirmed prices. Let me just jump right into it. First, the Chanel wallet on chain. This one here was recently priced at $2,950. And it has since gone up to $3,350. So that translates to a $400 price increase, which is a 14% jump. So double-digit percentage increase is pretty significant and usually gets noticed by customers. Since 2020, this has gone up a total of about 34%. Then here are the mini flaps. As far as I can see from the website, they are still the old prices, so $4,200 for the square mini, $4,400 for the rectangle mini. However, I did hear that these were also going up by a few $100s, so don't be shocked if the website is updated soon after this video goes live. Then let's move on to the classic flaps. Mine are both in the medium size, but let's start with the small size, which I don't own. The small was recently $8,200, which is not a laughable amount of money, but it is now $9,600. So the small classic flap is now $9,600. It has gone up by a total of $1,400, which is equivalent to a 17% price increase. If you look back to the year 2020, which was not that long ago, the small classic flap has risen by 66% in the recent years. The medium classic flap has also gone up. It was previously $8,800. It is now a whopping $10,200. It has officially hit the 5-figure mark. This too went up by a total of $1,400. So both the small and the medium each went up by $1,400, and that translates for the medium about a 16% increase. If you look back to 2020, that is a total 57% increase in the last few years. Also, we have the jumbo. The jumbo was previously $9,500. It is now $11,000 flat. That's right, $11,000 for the jumbo. That is a $1,500 price increase. That's the highest price increase that I know of so far on my spreadsheet of numbers, and that is a 16% increase. If you look back to 2020, this jumbo was $7,100, so it translates into a total 55% increase in the last few years. Now I'm going to move on to other bags that I don't personally own but were impacted in this round of price increases. So the mini reissue went from $4,400 to now $4,900. That's a $500 increase, equivalent to 11%. So far, all the numbers that I shared, everything has gone up by at least double-digit percentages. The reissue 225 size went from $8,800 to $10,200. That's a $1,400 increase at 16%. That is the same exact price and increase amount as the medium classic flap. The reissue 226, which is somewhat equivalent to the jumbo size, was $9,500. It's now $11,000. So the classic jumbo and the reissue 226 are both $11,000. Again, that's a $1,500 price increase, equivalent to 16%. I don't have the numbers on the reissue 227. I also don't have the numbers on the classic maxi size, but I would imagine those were impacted as well. If you do have those numbers, please share them down below in the comment section. Then we move on to the Chanel 19, which has now become a classic. I don't own this bag either, but the medium size went from $5,700 to now $6,400. So that's a $700 increase, equivalent to 12%. To give you some history, back in 2020, this bag was $4,800. So that means that in the last 3 years or so, the bag has gone up by 33% in price. The Chanel 19 large size went from $6,300 to $6,800, which is a $500 increase at 8%. This is the first time we're seeing a single-digit price increase. 8% is pretty moderate compared to the other increases that we've just talked about. In total, as of 2020, the Chanel 19 large size was $5,300. So if you compare that to today's price, that's about a 28% jump in the last few years. And then the Chanel 19 maxi size went from $6,900 to now $7,500. That was a $600 increase at 9%. Also went up by almost 30% since 2020. Almost done with the numbers. The boy bags. So the small boy bag, I know for sure, went from $5,400 to $6,100, which is a $700 increase, equivalent to 13%. That is a 33% increase overall since 2020. I don't have the confirmed numbers for the medium and large size boy bags, but if you do have that information, again, please share them down below in the comment section. And then finally, the Chanel 22 bag went from $5,300 to $5,800. That's a $500 price increase at 9%. Now, before I even end this video, I know that I'm going to get a lot of comments, people jumping ship saying they are no longer going to buy from Chanel, or they were planning to buy from Chanel, but they've decided to take their money elsewhere. And then there will be comments like, why are you even mentioning the price increases? This is inevitable. All luxury brands go up in price. In fact, everything goes up in price. And I do want to address that last point. I do believe that with inflation, the cost of pretty much everything goes up, generally speaking, and especially now in this high inflation environment where we're at almost all-time highs with inflation rates, I expect the cost of goods to go up, whether they are essentials or luxury items. But I think that a lot of times Chanel draws attention, negative attention to themselves because of the way they go about the price increases. So if you look at all the other luxury houses, of course, they also implement price increases. But Chanel, along with Louis Vuitton, are the most frequent and most aggressive when it comes to their price increases. Now, they weren't always like that. If you look at their history from years ago, their increases were more far apart, every few years, every other year, and then they slowly started closing the gap, mostly in the last few years, because if you look at the old prices from, let's say, 5 to 10 years ago, they didn't change that much. It was only in the last 3 to 4 years that the prices kind of jumped in leaps and bounds. So it is turning people off because the economy is in a certain state, and the prices are just climbing much faster than anyone would really expect. There are other luxury houses that, of course, do increase their prices, but not nearly as high and as fast as Chanel. So as I mentioned before, as I was running through the list of prices, most of these increases are double-digit percentages. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18% increases. We're not talking 3%, 4%. And also, a point that was made a few months ago was, why do people make so much noise around Chanel price increases, but not so much around Hermes price increases? And I think there are 3 reasons to that. First of all, let's just say I don't think anyone likes price increases in general, whether it's handbags, fashion, or like your Netflix or your real estate property taxes. Nobody likes anything going up. Let's just be honest about that. But when you compare with Hermes as an example, and this is just going to be my quick commentary, Hermes usually announces their price increases very far in advance, saying we are planning to do this. Months in advance, they announce it in their financials or their report outs, and oftentimes they will give a target percentage and say, typically we will do 2 to 3%. This year we're going to be a bit more aggressive given economic issues or the price of goods, or they usually kind of lay out the reason. So they kind of give the customers a heads up. They're a bit reasonable about sharing the reasons, the justification, and nobody's really naive about these companies being businesses. They're profitable. They want to be more profitable. They want to make more money. But I think while knowing that, we just want some transparency. We want to know why, what you're doing about it, and when, right? So you're not kind of sort of hit over the head out of the blue. The other thing is that we keep hearing about the decline in quality. And when we talk about Hermes, and I don't mean to compare Hermes and Chanel because I kind of don't like that. It's apples and oranges. But since so many people bring it up, if you want customers to pay higher prices, you really do need to maintain a very, very high level of quality. You have to be very strict and put a concentrated effort on maintaining such superb quality and service that customers will not balk at the ever-rising costs. And I think with Chanel, they missed the mark on that from a few years ago, because if you look at what people are talking about with Chanel, including myself, we just start to see the decline in quality over the last few years, right? So it's really not a customer-friendly setup where quality and service is declining and prices are rapidly increasing. I actually read an article because I was interested to hear like the economic principles behind this. And if you just Google how to increase prices without making your customers angry, there's tons and tons of articles and research out there and statistics on how to do it and how to do it well. And they actually talk about how you really need to focus on quality if you're going to increase your prices, which Chanel, unfortunately, we all know has not been doing that. And you really need to explain why and what's going on, which Chanel hasn't been totally transparent about. And you also have to give your customers a heads up in advance so that they can prepare, right? I don't think any of those things have consistently been done by Chanel, so people have a reaction. And of course, it is our money. We get to choose what we want to do with it. And for the vast majority of people who are not happy with the price increases, you take your money somewhere else. It's not a big deal, really. But there are people out there who have been saving and working hard for their one Chanel bag, that one Chanel bag that they've wanted for a while. And it reminds me of me when I was in my 20s and I wanted this jumbo and I waited and waited and waited and finally got it. So I know that if the price had gone up by a few $100s, that might have not made like a big difference for most people. Maybe that meant working a little bit harder to get that final extra few hundred to buy that bag of yours that you wanted. But when it goes up by thousands, that's a whole different story for a lot of people. I'm not even going to get into if Chanel is trying to be like Hermes, if Chanel is trying to be exclusive to just the elite uber wealthy, because I think we all know the answer to that, and I think we have known the answer to that for a long time. But I just wanted to share out what I know with the prices. And I also want to share quickly the poll that I put up on my Instagram. 53% of you, when asked if you saw this last price increase coming, said yes, it was inevitable. So over half of us were expecting it. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're happy about it. 17% of you in the minority said no, I'm really surprised. So there are some of you who are shocked. And 29% of you said that you're actually still in denial. That's the breakdown of reactions. I am feeling quite detached at the moment from Chanel and Chanel's prices. As you know, I did a series of videos talking about that I'm done buying Chanel handbags, not for any negative reasons. I wasn't hating on the brand. I just feel like I have enough at this point, so I don't want to keep going. I don't want to just keep going down this slippery slope with them. But now that I think about it, I don't know. I mean, I feel a little uncomfortable, frankly. Even though I'm not purchasing any, I feel a little uncomfortable with the new prices. It's not about affordability. I know that in some cases it truly is about affordability, where you wanted to buy, but now it's out of your reach because it's not something that you can attain in terms of like your actual, your income or your budget. But I think for a lot of us, it's more about the value or the perceived value. I think a lot of us are starting to awaken to this idea that maybe we've put Chanel on a pedestal for a while, and whether that's right or wrong, it's totally subjective. I personally have started to take Chanel down a notch in my mind because I just feel like the value is questionable now. So, when you have something that's a luxury item, there's something intangible, a little bit of a sort of like a magic factor, an X factor that you can't really explain why you're willing to spend so much money on something that's just a bag, right? You can get a leather bag anywhere else and save 90% of that money. But there's something there for those of us who have been into Chanel or other luxury brands. And now that something is fading. And I think it's because Chanel mistakenly went overboard. And now that magic is starting to rub off, or has perhaps completely rubbed off for many of you, because the price is no longer even close to something that you can justify in your mind as reasonable for the value that you're getting, right? Value in some ways is subjective. A lot of times you guys ask me, do you think it's still worth it? And I always say, if you're going to love it and you're going to use it and enjoy it, then it may be worth it for you. If you're going to put yourself into financial strain, if you're going to feel burdened by it, if you're going to feel too scared to use it and leave it on a shelf for 10 years, then maybe it's not worth it, right? Or you don't even really like it, but you think you should have one because you've reached a certain, time in your life, then no, those are not good reasons. So it's totally personal. But I do think that for a lot of us, I do believe that Chanel they've ruined their own aura, their own air of mystery, their own perception of prestige, because now they're going into what I think is a little bit outlandish, a little bit crazy. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to end the video here, you guys. You share your notes and comments and questions down below. I'm sure there'll be a whole lot of active dialogue, but I think I did my job here. I frankly was not going to make this video, but so many of you reached out to me personally asking me for this video, saying that you were waiting for it. So I made my spreadsheet and I shared the numbers, and I think I did my job. So let me know what you think. And if you got something informational out of this video at all, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want any other happy handbag content that is not related to price increases, I will be sharing some really fun videos in the next few weeks. So stay tuned. And if you're new to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing and stick around and join this community. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.